Yo, what's good with you? Back in black with a brand new Modern Warfare 2 video. If you guys are new to the channel and you love shooting games just like me, make sure you aim for that like button and shoot that subscribe button as well. It'll help you find better teammates and it'll, improve your skill-based matchmaking because God knows we need help with it in this game. This is the pinnacle of skill-based matchmaking. But neither here nor there, let's get into the video. So I recently finished the Modern Warfare 2 campaign, as I'm sure a lot of you guys have, and I wanted to share my opinions and assign a rating out of 10. I find this kind of video worthy of making in the first place because Infinity Ward and Activision felt so confident in this campaign that they used it as a pre-order incentive and practically pushed us off a cliff as far as encouragement goes for wanting us to experience this campaign first. So I thought to myself, why not? Let's see what these guys talking about, and let's see why they're so braggadocio about. Now, I'll be the first to say that I'm not a campaign connoisseur by any means, nor do I even hold a feather to those channels dedicated to breaking down the ins and outs of every Call of Duty story. I have no intention of being one of those YouTubers, but this game does step harder than most Call of Duty campaigns, and I'll be the first to give them credit there. You can literally feel and see the effort that was put into this story. Albeit, I would still reckon that the original 2009 story was better. We already knew the production value was going to be, up there. But not every Call of Duty seems to be invested in creating a cohesive and understandable story. More on that a little later. First thing I wanted to note is that this campaign doesn't necessarily feel that grand in scale, which I also won't necessarily say is a bad thing, but what I have noticed is that older Call of Duty campaigns seem to have larger battles and way more soldiers on screen, making the grand scheme of what you're doing seem way bigger and slightly more meaningful, and you truly feel like you're part of an army or a cog in the machine. Of course, just like in real life, conflicts have become much more smaller and focused in scale more often than not. So again, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that I have noticed, and I wanted to make that comparison. You definitely feel like you're more so in smaller engagements and focused on squad battles than being in an army or part of something grand and big in scale. All that being said, this game does do a really good job of focusing you in on those squad engagement combat moments. And even with that, they do a really nice job of incorporating some bombastic moments that don't necessarily require a huge battle, but they still do a nice job of generating shock value and making you feel like you're in the middle of something really big that's going on, even if you're only fighting with 4 other people next to you. So again, not a bad thing, just wanted to make that distinction. If you want to feel like you're in a giant battle, I wouldn't necessarily say this is the game for that, but the game still feels grand in scale. People in your squad. Another thing I really wanted to praise about this campaign was the type of missions that they present to you as the story progresses. Whereas older COD games usually consisted of a lot of attack this place or defend this place with the occasional vehicle mission thrown in here or there. This game does all that and more, seeming to have really taken the best elements of COD campaigns from the past and even adding additional new elements like optional dialogue and more experimentation with water physics. To me, it looks like this game took a look at what worked best in MW19, and they even have hints of inspiration from games of old like Call of Duty World War II that are present, as well as the undercover double agent type performances you'll be putting on throughout the campaign, doing a really good job of tapping into all their roots and seeing what the fans really enjoyed. In my personal opinion, all good Call of Duty games or campaigns have to feature good stealth missions or at least good stealth opportunities. Safe to say, not only does this game feature a plethora of attacking stealth missions, but they also present a new and foreign feeling of defensive stealth missions, or for lack of better words, survival missions. Ones that make you think on your feet about where you want to go and when you should make your next move or run. You even have to collect items or craft, which can seem kinda gimmicky at first, but did grow on me as the campaign progressed and items became more useful as opposed to optional. Sometimes crafting was simply essential to your survival in a mission, and they do a good job of driving that home. Last thing I want to mention is that rarely do I ever feel like I'm on a set path throughout the entire mission, or at the very least, I feel like you're presented with a wide open area of operation, and you can basically choose however you want to approach a certain situation. Not 100% of the time, because it's still Call of Duty and they still have to guide you down a certain like pathway at times, but unlike the older games, there are plenty of opportunities for you to choose how you want to complete your mission. I enjoy that very much. The plot, let's talk about the plot. As far as the general premise of the story, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't played it yet, but I will say that the story is moderately easy to follow along as long as you're a competent human. It is full of a lot of intricacies and complexities, which is very typical of war or tactical operations in this current day and age, so that does kind of make sense. It's not so much, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, let's go to war on this giant front, and very much so who is good or bad or who you should be shooting at, and there's never any civilians or anything to take account of. It's nothing like that at all. In typical Call of Duty fashion, you're jumping around the globe trying to kill the big bad guy, which changes throughout the story. But again, I'm not sure if it is just nostalgia at play here, but with the original Modern Warfare story, I would say that trounces this one. I feel way more connected to the characters in the story from 2009 as opposed to the reimagining that they have going on now. Quite honestly, Gaz shouldn't even be alive right now if they were really making this like a reimagining or trying to pull from the original story. But I guess he's way more integral to the story now, so that's why they have to keep him alive. I enjoy his banter with Captain Price. It seems like they're best friends, while Soap and Ghost are besties respectively in their own little weird dynamic. Hassan, the big bad guy, Hassan is written very average, and it never seems like he's a true menace that Zakhaev or Makarov would have been, but I guess we'll have to see how that story progresses. And they have way less dialogue, but I do enjoy his back and forth with General Shepard and Graves. He really makes you think about who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, which I really enjoy that type of take in a Call of Duty campaign. Valeria, which if you know, if you don't, you'll meet her when you play the game. She's a baddie and she's a savage. At the same time, I'm gonna say 10 out of 10 for her character as well. And since I already mentioned a few of the characters, let's pivot and talk about the characters for a second. I think all of them are written very well and they're very believable for the most part. Notable aspects include that I thought Alejandro was kind of corny to me at first, but his character development and general bravado, cool guy attitude made him grow on me, along with his genuine care for his troops and country. The cartel characters were all superbly done and very believable, quite frankly. The missions involving them up close and personal were definitely the most tense, and I get the greatest satisfaction taking down Diego after dispatching the asshole. I'm not the biggest fan of how they did General Shepard and Soap. They both seem kind of generic, whereas before Shepard was way more badass and you actually see him on the front line shooting his revolver with his soldiers, or you see him personally betraying you and killing you himself. But in this game now, it kind of seems like he's just sitting behind a desk making shots, which I guess that's what generals do for the most part nowadays. But I don't know, General Shepard seemed way cooler again back in 2009. But I guess that's where Graves comes in, and he was cool. When he was on your side, I guess you could say, the cool, cold, and calculated kind of guy. But then he became a little more corny towards the end of the game too. I won't say too much about that, but neither here nor there. I won't commentate on every single character that is in the game. I just want to say generally that they were written well, but the original 2009 story and its acting still has them beat, very much so. Luckily, Ghost isn't a buff superhero or anymore, so I can't be too mad at that, because how they did him in MW19 was very, very cringy and horrible. So they got Ghost being cool again. That's nice. Just to talk about the things that I did not like about this campaign, there wasn't a huge amount of them, but there was the occasional bugs here, like soldiers doing the T-pose or dying standing up, or AI seeing you when they probably shouldn't have been able to, but neither here nor there. Stupid stuff like that. Another thing that I wasn't a big fan of was the checkpoints that they gave you throughout the campaign. I was playing on hardened difficulty, which wasn't the worst thing in the world, but you do die a good bit, especially at the harder sections. But what the game likes to do is that they will bring you back within a millisecond of the point that you died at. So essentially, you just come back to the exact same horrible situation that you just got killed at the first time. I'm not, I get not wanting to send you back to the beginning of the level, like they did in Call of Duty Finest Hour or something like that. But sheesh, man, I don't want to get caught in an infinite death loop either. Say, I wish they implored us to use vehicles more. There was a particular mission where you got to call in like helicopter air support, which I thought it would have been cool if they did one of those like perspective changing sequences where you switch between the helicopter and the ground attack team. But maybe they just ran out of resources or something. What can you do? Oh, snaps! I also almost forgot to talk about the amount of civilian presence throughout the game, particularly on the mission where you're using the AC-130. I restarted that mission at least 18 times because apparently you are not allowed to level buildings with a 150mm cannon, and civilians just love to stand right by or next to enemies, which is hella annoying. But generally, yes, we all understand that innocent people are usually always nearby when war is going on, or typically when you don't have you know one of those situations where all the civilians are already evacuated. But I don't know, man, did y'all really have to drive that point home so hard? Like, there's so many instances where civilians are just running around or in the way. It's actually very annoying, but I guess it's kind of cool. It makes you think about where you put your bullets at instead of just shooting anything that moves, which is nothing what real life is like. So again, whatever. I don't know what they're going for there. Uh, you know, especially in the AC-130, like, why are you making me think so hard about where I shoot a giant cannon? Like, usually that's meant to destroy everything in the area. So I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. They probably could have did a little bit more with the boats too, in my personal opinion. But I think they are making a campaign expansion in the future, so we'll see about that then. Maybe they could incorporate more of that in the future. The last thing I wanted to talk about that I did not like was the ending, because man, wow, bruh. I'm not gonna say too much about what happened, but if you played it, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It seems they was trying to mimic what seems like a boss fight, but I think they did a pretty bad job at it, in my personal opinion, because just the whole dynamic of that fight in general was so corny and cheesy and gimmicky. Like, the whole sequence of events from beginning to end kind of made me cringe once I actually, beat the boss or whatever. I won't say much more than that, but I do want to hear what you guys think about that boss fight at the end too. In summation though, the campaign was really good. I think it was warranted releasing early because it didn't interfere with the release of the multiplayer, which is always a good thing. You can really just, I'm glad they gave us a opportunity to really just hone in on the campaign, then hone in on the multiplayer after that. They actually went out of their way to try and innovate on stuff while retaining what fans really liked about older Call of Duty campaigns, or what was well received. The sounds were great, the graphics were beautiful, but that's to be expected. The characters were good too, but like I said, to be honest, at the end of the day, none of this will really compare to the original Modern Warfare trilogy or story. But hey, at the very least, it was worth playing through at least once. I played it and I didn't hate it, and that's really, I'm not saying that's all you can ask for. You could ask to be amazed, but it's really hard to do that with a campaign nowadays, especially when it's only like 4 or 5 hours of gameplay. But yeah, man, I really want to know what you guys think about that in-game fight. Like, want your genuine opinion on how that fight at the end was. If I had to think about an overall score for this campaign, I would give it a smooth 7.5 to a 8.5 maybe. I might play it one more time just to let it sink in and see how I really feel about it. But I'm feeling like a 7.5 to 8.5, like slightly above average to almost really good. Let me know what you guys think though. I do appreciate you guys for watching. Don't forget, if you learned anything or enjoyed the commentary, to aim for that like button and shoot that subscribe button as well. It'll help you find better teammates and improve your skill-based matchmaking. And I hope you guys have a lovely day. Drop your ratings down in the comment for the campaign. Drop your ratings for the campaign down in the comments. And yeah, just let me know what you guys think. I hope you have a lovely day. Black Guy out.